All right, it is Monday, which means we are doing our Blue Jackets recap for this week. We're going to start with Thursday's game at home against the Wild, their first of two against Minnesota in the week. They lose 2-0, getting shut out. No Cole Sillinger due to illness. Johnny Gaudreau returned in this game, and it was Korpisalo versus Fleury in net. The Wild were up 2-0 after the first period, which is what would be the final score, but we'll get into the details a little bit. Kirill Kaprizov all over the ice. Only crazy he had the one goal scored considering some of the chances that he had. The Jackets with no real jump early. Liam Foudy had a nice breakaway chance that was kind of, I guess the score sheet will say that Fleury stopped it, but really it was just a flubbed chance. Foudy was pretty much had it all alone. Fleury was way in front of him, just Foudy couldn't bury it. Second period, much better for the Blue Jackets. I feel like you could argue that they actually outplayed the Wild in that period, but there were no goals because Marc-Andre Fleury was pretty solid. He was pretty much stopping everything he could see and physically get to, and the Jackets really couldn't capitalize when they had him sprawling. Minnesota was always there to clear the puck away, or the Jackets just couldn't quite get as good of a shot on it as they needed to, and it was still 2-0 Minnesota after the second. And in the third period, the Wild did a really good job of shutting down any of the Blue Jackets offense early. The Jackets didn't really get really many shots off until very late in the game after they had pulled the goalie. Flowers standing tall until the buzzer. He got his first shutout over the Blue Jackets, which I'm a little bit astounded that was his first, considering all the years he spent with the Penguins while the Blue Jackets were languishing in irrelevance. But somehow that was only his first shutout against the Blue Jackets. Imagine going into a time machine and telling Blue Jackets fans that Marc-Andre Fleury wouldn't get his first shutout of the Blue Jackets until 2023 as a member of the Minnesota Wild. That would have been crazy. Would have been laughed out of the room. Korpisalo in this game was really good as usual, but he literally got zero goal support. Literally got none. So that takes us into Saturday's game against the Oilers, still at home. They win a crazy one, 6-5. It was kids' takeover day. Cole Sillinger returning to the lineup, and it was Korpisalo against Jack Campbell in net. Marchenko scoring a point-blank tap-in less than 2 minutes in, thanks to a great pass from Johnny Gaudreau. And then the Blue Jackets put the pedal to the metal, putting together a really good first period. They didn't get any more goals out of it, but they still led 1-0 into the break. Nice to see against this Oilers team. And then the second period starts, and it's early. Boone Jenner scoring a power play goal, deflecting a line-A shot. And then Marchenko getting his second of the game on the rush. Johnny Gaudreau was sitting on that one once again. The Gaudreau-Marchenko connection, love to see that. Wouldn't mind getting used to that. Then Line getting in on the scoring action with a goal from a really sharp angle. Campbell then pulled after the Jackets put up 4 goals on just 14 shots. And then Nationwide Arena plays host to the Twilight Zone of National Hockey League for the afternoon. Warren Foegele responding with a goal that maybe Corpy might want back and kind of beat him 5-hole. Corpy with a great save on Leon Draisaitl on a 5-on-3, but Draisaitl would get a goal pretty much on the same play mere seconds later, and it's 2-4, and you can kind of tell that the Blue Jackets are maybe, they're losing a lot of momentum. But the Blue Jackets get a power play, but McDavid just going all, he Connor McDavid all over everybody for the Blue Jackets, walking around Boqvist and Gaudreau shorthanded, beats Corpy because of course he does, that's what he does, he's Connor McDavid. It's 3-4, and this game has officially gone haywire. The Oilers then swarm to tie it, they're buzzing, they're all over the ice, and they get a goal from a McDavid slapper in a prime location, and it's all mayhem is broken loose. Second period ends 4-4, a whole new hockey game in a chaotic 40 minutes to say the least. The Oilers did start with more jump in the third period, but Korpisalo would stand on his head to keep it tied. Jackets getting some zone time, and one shot is all they needed as Roslovic would bury a rebound from a line-A shot to give the Blue Jackets the lead once again. And then Jack Roslovic would score the next goal on a 2-on-1. He had Line-A with him, which Line-A with some, joking, sarcastic comments in the postgame, like, yeah, if he wouldn't have scored, I would have been mad because that's, selfish Roslovic as always, not passing on a 2-on-1. So some nice jabbing from Line-A there, but again, Jack Roslovic scoring 2 goals after going through a long, I think it was like a 15-game goal drought or something ridiculous like that. The Blue Jackets recovered nicely after a rough third period start. The Oilers would go empty net with more than 3 to go, down 2. And because nothing's ever easy with this Blue Jackets team, Zach Hyman cutting the deficit to 1 pretty quickly. Edmonton going empty net again with about 90 seconds left, calling timeout. But the Blue Jackets would hang on after a sloppy finish. Whatever, some of the younger kids on Kids Takeover Night did take over indeed. Adam Boqvist had a nice, impressive game. Line, Marchenko, you name it. It was a youth movement kind of game, and you can take wins like that, even if it is technically at the expense of a tank or whatever. And then you get to Sunday's game in Minnesota against the Wild, an overtime loss, 3-2. Boqvist was out with a lower body injury for this one, so it was Billy Sweezy making his NHL debut. He was okay. Him and Bernie pretty much got benched for the third period, though, so not a whole lot of trust with him, understandably. It was Elvis Merzlikins getting his only game in this week versus Fleury in net. Matthew Olivier getting things started early for a goal for the Blue Jackets. I've liked his play as of late, as I have Eric Branson. I feel like both of those additions are really starting to bring that physicality, veteran presence that we've been hoping to see, and we're seeing more and more of it as the season goes on. The story of the first 40 minutes was that Elvis Merzlikins has continued he's continued his best stretch of play this season. He was fantastic in this game. Liam Foudy getting another goal to give the Blue Jackets a 2-0 lead into the third period. Shout out to Liam Foudy, a now multi-goal scorer after not scoring for, a ridiculous amount of time. But not all good things can last for this team, unfortunately, as Kaprizov deflecting a goal past Elvis very early into the third period, and he followed up with a power play goal less than 5 minutes later to tie it up. And that would be the score heading into overtime. It was 2-2. In this overtime, both teams playing the possession game. A lot of, both the Wild and the Blue Jackets are having an emphasis on taking it out of the zone, resetting everything up. But not a whole lot of prime chances rewarded for these efforts by these teams. Then Nick Blankenberg trying to go all out, splitting two Wild defensemen, but that didn't really work out, creating a 3-on-2, a bit of defensive confusion on who's supposed to be guarding who, and Kirill Kaprizov bearing a wide open chance to complete his hat trick and hand Columbus the overtime L. But it was a competitive game. Overall, you like to compete, but man, it was a disappointing for Elvis that the team couldn't get a W for him, because Merzlikins definitely deserved that one in his cap. An injury update for today. Positive news, actually, on the injury front for the Blue Jackets. Today, they activated both Carson Meyer and Yegor Chinakhov off of IR, and they have assigned both of them to the Cleveland Monsters. So Chinakhov has pretty much spent most of his career with the Blue Jackets organization when they got him over from Russia with the big club in the NHL. Who knows how long they keep him in Cleveland. I know that Chinakhov, again, probably ideally you'd like to see him get some big minutes for the big club, but he's coming back from injury. The Blue Jackets are playing their best stretch of hockey this whole season, so maybe the coaching staff doesn't want to upset the apple cart throwing in a new guy. And Carson Meyer has mostly been AHL depth for the majority of his career, although he has shown some jump and some fire as of late. As the past couple years, he's gotten more and more used to playing in a Blue Jackets uniform. But anyway, that's pretty much been it for this week. The Blue Jackets, although you can say they're winning and getting points and not fitting the prerogative of their tank, but it just so happens that their best stretch of play has coincided with other teams like Anaheim and Colorado and Arizona racking up points as well. So the Blue Jackets, they're still sitting tall in last place with the best odds for landing Connor Bedard, the first overall pick, unless something happens. It's going to be Connor Bedard unless something extremely drastic happens between now and the NHL draft. But yeah, the Jackets, so far, they're playing well, and they're getting away with it by keeping the odds for that number one pick in their reservoir for now. So thank you all for watching. If you made it this far into the video, I will see you at the next one.